Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pawan Luthra podcast. Dramatic, unpredictable, controversial. For over 2 decades now, the Border-Gavaskar Trophy has been one of cricket's greatest rivalries, matched only to the Ashes and the India versus Pakistan matches. After taming the Australians in their last two visits to Australia in 2018-19 and then in 21-22, the Indians are back for a summer of cricket, which will certainly send the temperature soaring both off the ground and on the field. For us to witness it all, Fox Cricket, available on Kayo Sports and Foxtel, is gearing up to bring us all the action. I'm about to go in and talk to the legendary Mark Waugh. Welcome, Mark Waugh.
Good to be here.
Cricket in Australia has come a long way since you made your Test debut on 25th January 1991.
Yeah, it certainly has. It's a long time ago. But I mean, I think Test cricket in Australia has still remained so popular, and in India as well. But the Indian people, they're such great lovers of cricket. Whenever Australia plays India, there's so much interest, and you can see that in the newspapers. The headlines there in English, Hindi and Punjab is a sign of the times. So looking forward to the summer. There's so much great cricket ahead of us, starting next week.
Now, Foxtel and Kayo Sports will televise the Australia versus Pakistan T20 series and the Australia versus India Test series live. How excited are you for this series?
Extremely excited. I think, the two big series now in world cricket for Australia are Australia-England, which has always been historically maybe the primary event, but I think Australia-India has taken over from that. And it's great to see a 5-match Test series.
Why do you think this rivalry has grown between India and Australia, whereas Ashes is traditional? There are lots of stories linked to that. What's made the India-Australia series exciting?
Well, I think the quality of cricket coming out of India in recent times, they've always been a powerful team, but I think in recent times India are producing so many great cricketers, and the action on the field is so of a high standard that people just want to watch it. And Australians love playing cricket in India. I loved touring India when I was playing, but now you've got the IPL as well, which is a tremendous tournament, and I think that focuses a lot more eyeballs on cricket in India. So you've got some fantastic players coming out of India, but Australia they love the culture of going to India, and then when they come back here, of course, it's equally as exciting for the players.
That's a bit different to the olden days when there were baked beans being flown in from Australia to India.
Well, that's true. I mean, the conditions now. I've been to India in recent times as a selector for the Australian team, and the players are spoilt. They're put up in 7-star hotels. Accommodation's amazing. The restaurants, you can have Italian, Chinese, Indian food.
And baked beans.
And baked beans. Still, you can get baked beans at most of the places. But, I think the standard of living in India for the cricketers is so high. I mean, in my day, we got looked after like kings as well. Don't worry about that. It was amazing. Some of the places we went to, and the accommodation, and, people were so friendly. So, yeah, I think all those things in India have gone to another level, and the players really enjoy it.
Mark, now Fox Cricket and Kayo Sports are launching their Summer of Cricket next week on November 19th at Federation Square in Melbourne. Firstly, why does Melbourne get to do all these good, fun things, and what can we expect on the day?
Yeah, well, I mean, Melbourne's a good city too. Even you look at the commentators on Fox, we've got Harsha Bhogle and Ravi Shastri coming across from India for the series, and they're tremendous.
Do they have different commentating styles, Harsha and Ravi? Because Harsha is an encyclopedic knowledge. Ravi, I think, is a little bit more analytical and
a bit more flamboyant, maybe. Yes. Ravi, but they both got great skills and skill sets. It's a bit like our commentary team. You've got someone like Kerry O'Keefe who's, he's a bit of a funny man, but he's got great knowledge of all the players. I think everybody's different, but I mean, Harsha's, you're right, he's the encyclopedia, whereas Ravi's, even his antics when he goes out for the toss, he's very flamboyant and, demonstrates.
Does he come across as a World Boxing Federation
he could
commentator?
Be, yeah. I think he could be, yeah.
Missed his calling?
Yeah, I think he could do that in America.
He could be in the US doing one of those kind of gigs, which is worth a lot more millions of dollars.
I think he's got plenty of money, Ravi. I think he goes all right, but he's a real character, so looking forward to them coming out and adding their spice to the series on the commentary box.
Now, India is coming here after their thrashing at the hands of New Zealand at home, a couple of aging players soon to retire. You have played 128 test matches, scored 8,029 runs. What will be going on in the minds of the Indian cricket team as they land in Australia?
Well, I mean, 2 months ago, everything was going great for Indian cricket. I think they're number one in the world. They're favourites to make the World Test Championship final next year. And then they play New Zealand at home. And New Zealand have just been beaten in Sri Lanka. So you'd think India would win that series. Maybe they just started looking too far ahead. We're worrying about the Australian summer coming up. India. Then they get beat 3-0 by New Zealand, which was a huge shock to me. I watched all those games and I couldn't believe how well New Zealand played, but how poorly India played. So I think their confidence will be down a little bit in that series. There's a few injured players. Mohammad Shami, I think, is a huge loss for the Indian fast bowling attack. I think he's an excellent bowler, so that leaves a bit of a hole there. So I thought India would be favourites to beat Australia 2 months ago, but not now. I think there's a few holes in the batting lineup in particular. Mohammad Shami not being here, they're going to have to lift. But they lifted on the last tour, when India had all those injuries. Virat Kohli went home after the Adelaide Test where India got bowled out for 36.
Correct.
So I don't think Australia will write India off, but I think right at the moment Australia will be favourites on home soil.
Mark, this is a 5-test series which will test the players psychologically and physically. How tough is it to be on a tour that long and playing the long form of cricket?
It is tough. It can be tough if you get a really hot summer with flat pitches and there's a lot of runs scored. The bowlers can find it tough going. The aches and pains come in for the fast bowlers, long days in the field. But to be honest, I think players are used to a tight schedule now and lots of cricket. That they've rested certain players for the Test match series. So I don't think it's an excuse being a long hot summer. 5 Test matches playing in Australia at some of the best grounds in the world in front of packed houses. If you're a Test cricketer and you can't get up for each Test match, then you shouldn't be playing the game. So I don't think there's going to be any excuses as far as the schedule is concerned. Players will be looked after. They'll be pampered. They'll be flying business class. They'll be in the best hotels.
Yes.
They'll get looked after so well. And of course, you've got a big support group for these teams. You've got fitness advisors, you've got masseuses, there's physios, there's dietitians.
A lot different to when you did
everything.
Your touring?
Well, when we toured, if we went to India, we would have a coach, a physio and a team manager.
So 3 of you.
That's all we had basically.
Mark, you're in the Foxtel Cricket commentary box. You look around the MCG or the SCG and you see an army of blue sporting the Indian cricket team. How much of an impact does that have on players from both sides on the field?
Well, I think it's an advantage for India. When they come to Australia, you're right, there'll be a sea of blue in the crowd. There'll be probably 50-50 split between Australian supporters and Indian supporters, and maybe there might even be more Indian supporters. So I think that's a big advantage for the Indians. They're away from home, but they're really not.
Do the Australian team feel a bit let down because they don't see the green and gold T-shirts in the crowd, but they see more, as you said, the sea of blue? Does that play on the mind? This is my country. I would prefer to have more green and gold.
They probably would rather see more green and gold, but at the end of the day, I think if it's a packed house and a great atmosphere, as a player, once you get out there and you're focused on your job, the crowd is sort of an outside noise. It's more when you're getting ready to go into bat or you're in the outfield and there's people yelling at you, that sort of thing, that the crowd sort of does affect you in a little way. But I think it's great. As long as it's a packed house, I don't care who's there if I'm playing. So I think it's probably more an advantage for India to have so many supporters away from home.
Who makes more noise, the Barmy Army or the Bharat Army?
Gee, I think the Barmy Army have got more songs and more lyrics and different songs. But I think it's 50-50. I think it's great. I don't know. We need something. We need our army.
Now, switching to yourself, you played for Australia between 1991 and 2002. Then you were a national selector between 2014 and 18 before switching to a full-time broadcasting commentary role. Which has been the most difficult gig?
Definitely playing, I think. Commentary's relatively easy, isn't it? I mean, what pressure have you got on you? Apart from getting your hair right and getting your words out.
Karaoke doesn't have to worry about that part of it.
And turning up on time. I mean, commentary it's not really a job. It's great fun. So, I would consider commentary. I'm not saying the easiest, but there's less pressure, I guess. Playing for your country, I didn't. At times it was difficult. I mean, you've got to keep performing to keep your job, basically, which it's pressure in itself. So if you think of it that way, if you're not performing, and you've got to find another job. So you need to keep your standards up, and you need to, to stay at the top of your game, you've got to keep working on things. You've got to keep your fitness levels, obviously, technical side of the game, mental side of the game can be very draining. So I'd say it's the hardest. Selector, I was selected for 4 years, and I enjoyed it. There was ups and down times. But you just blame the chairman of the selectors if we pick the wrong guy. You just blame the chairman.
So George Bailey's got something to worry about.
I didn't pick that guy. That was the chairman. But that was enjoyable too.
When you were playing, did you feel all the commentary made about your playing in media and other places was fair? Or was there sometimes when you wished that you had met that person in a quiet room, in a quiet corner?
Sometimes I don't think it was fair, but most of the time it was. And it didn't worry me, to be honest. I mean, I think it's more difficult now for players because of social media, and even commentary. Whatever you say, it's out there everywhere. I mean, in my day, there was basically just TV. And then I didn't hear a lot of the commentary on myself. I mean, you're not going to play the game, then go home and watch the replay and and listen to the commentary. So I didn't even know what people were saying about me, unless I read it in the paper. So, some people called me a lazy player. That I didn't care sometimes because of the way I got out, but that's just the way I played. A bit like a David Gower or even Usman Khawaja, just a casual style of player. So at the end of the day, I think players, they've just got to focus on playing. Don't worry about outside noise, but it is more difficult now with all social media.
Fair enough. In spite of money and preference given to T20 cricket, Test cricket still holds out on its own. Why this fascination for Test cricket?
Well, because it's a pure form of the game. I mean, there's, I suppose if you wanted to compare Test cricket to one-day cricket, there's fast food, there's T20 cricket, which tastes good at the time, but you forget about it. But Test cricket is the ultimate game. It ebbs and flows. It's a test of endurance, skill, mental attitude, and I just feel like there's more exciting moments, in a game of Test match cricket. And if you have a bad period, you can still win the game. Whereas in T20 cricket, if you have a bad 5 overs, you probably can't win the game. So these things keep you on the edge of your seat in Test match cricket. So, I think Test match cricket will be here to stay forever, as long as it's played in the right spirit and in the right attitude. I don't like defensive Test match cricket. Got to be attacking, got to be trying to win the game.
And that's where it's changing. Most teams are playing attacking
that's right.
Test cricket.
Yeah, I mean, Bazball, for example, they're probably going a bit too far, but you're there to try and win the game, not draw the game. I think it's important that we do produce wickets that are good balance between bat and ball.
Now, you've been a champion sports person. What drives a champion sports person? Is it the hunger to win or fear of losing? And does this change with time?
To me, you play the game to win. Always positive, always looking to win. And then, I mean, you mix that with your own personal goals of trying to be the best you can, best player you can be. I mean, playing cricket, it's a great sport to start with, but to play it for a living and earn money from it, it's the ultimate dream, I think, playing sport for a living. So you make every poster winner every day is important to you, but, I think, playing to win is what you should be doing.
What a wonderful way to conclude this discussion. Many thanks for joining us on Pawan Luthra podcast. May your commentary be crisp, your description be accurate, and your joy of cricket be contagious. Thank you, Mark.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Good to speak to you.